Okay. Last lesson, we talked about inequalities. And remember what inequalities are. They're like equations, except they're different symbols. So remember, we had these 4. What does this one mean? Less than or equal to. What does this one mean? What does this one mean? And this one? Good. Now, we can actually solve inequalities. Okay? We solve them the exact same way we solve equations. Get the variable by itself, except we don't use an equal sign. We use one of these symbols. So let's say we were asked to solve this. X plus 3 less than 10. So what numbers plus 3 will always give you an answer less than 10? Well, there's a whole bunch of them, aren't there? Okay, so how do we find them all? Well, solve it the same way you do an equation. Get x by itself. How would you get x by itself? Subtract 3 from both sides. So we're left with x less than, don't write equals because it's not an equation, 7. And we've got our answer. So what numbers add 3 will always be less than 10? Any number that's less than 7. Do you remember how to graph it? Because we're asked to graph the solution. Anybody remember what we do? How many notches do we put on the graph? 2, usually one at each end. And they represent, one will always be 0, and the other will always be the answer. So 0 has to go on the left because 7 is positive, so it has to be to the right. And I got to show everything less than 7. So I start at 7 and put what kind of circle? Filled in. Am I including 7? No. So it's a hollow circle or open circle. That means we're not including 7. And then how do I show less than? Arrow to the left. Just like that. Okay. Let's have a look at a couple more. This one's a little weird because it's got the x on the right side, but that's okay. Let's just leave the x. How do I get rid of this minus 7? Plus 7. Which means I got to add 7 here. So what's negative 2 plus 7? 5. And then less than or equal to x. Well, that's not normally the way we write it, right? We write the x first and then the number after. So just write it backwards. X, and then this becomes greater than or equal to 5. Just like that. Graph it. Number line, 2 notches. What value goes here? There you go, which means, and what kind of circle? Filled in. And which way does my arrow go? Excellent. Perfect. Okay. What's that? Remember, the direction of the inequality is always the same as the arrow. Yeah. What are we going to do with this one? Yeah, I'm going to get the x's together. So how do I get rid of 5x here? Which means I subtract 5x here. What does my inequality look like now? So just plain old x greater than 4. So I got my answer. What's the answer? All numbers that are bigger than 4. And then the graph. Again, we've got 0 on the left, 4 on the right. What kind of circle at 4? Open or hollow. And I go off to the right. And that's my answer. Okay. Finally, word problem, just like we did with equations, except now we're not using an equal sign. Okay, we're using an inequality sign, depending on the question. So Jake plans to board his dog while he's away on vacation. The first boarding house charges $90 plus $5 every day. Boarding house B charges $100 plus only $4 per day. How many days must Jake board his dog for boarding house A to be less expensive than B? Well, I don't know the number of days, right? That's the unknown. What would you like to call it? We don't know what it is. D. D. Little d. Boarding house A. What's an expression for how much it costs at boarding house A? You have to pay $90 and $5 every one of these. Yeah, go ahead. Go ahead.
Is it 90 plus 5D?
Yes.
Yeah.
90 plus 5D. Similarly, what would be the total cost for boarding house B? 100 plus 4D. So remember, that's what we did when we solved problems using equations. We made our expressions. Now we've got to make our inequality. And how do I know it's an inequality? I see the word less or more or greater. If you don't see that word, that means it's an equation. But if you see anywhere in the question it says less than, greater than, that means you got to use one of the inequalities. So if we make our equation, we're asked how many days for A to be less than B. Well, A is 90 plus 5D less than B, which is 100 plus 4D. Any questions about how we get that? Now what? I got to bring the D's together. So I get 90 plus 1D is less than 100. Now, subtract 90 from both sides, and I get D is less than 10. Here's where you got to be careful, is writing your sentence. Because the answer is not 10 days. The answer is less than 10 days. So, this is actually Well, we're actually doing A and B together at the same time. So he must board his dog for, how am I going to say it? I can't say 10 because it's D is not equal to 10. Less than 10. He must board his dog for less than 10 days. And you can leave it like that. Okay? If you say he can board his dog for 10 days, that is incorrect. Because these are inequality word problems. Okay? Okay.